Joe Bonadies.
Hello. I need to do a little cleanup on some issues. First, congratulations, Phil. I recall the meeting where the board nominated you to be on the Michigan Association of School Boards, but I don't recall it ever being mentioned here that your nomination was accepted. You revealed this at the League of Women Voters event. I would like to remind you that the MASB has not distanced itself from the National School Board Association like 25 other states after the fiasco of calling parents speaking out at school board meetings domestic terrorists. Might not be the best fishing ground for best practices, but good luck. And two, thank you to John Lauterbach at that same candidate event. There had been a lot of discussion about transparency. John provided a description of the board being the eyes and ears of the community and that we needed to stay in our lane. Well, you're batting 500 as you certainly stay in your lane, and your bylaw encourages you to get painted in a very narrow lane. Not having access to subcommittees where the decisions made by the administrators get their preliminary rubber stamp means most things are cloaked behind the public perspective. Half the meetings and less public comment time gives less chance to hear the public, and if you did not look at your computers and smile so much, we might actually think you were listening. You make it clear that this is your meeting and the public are spectators. To illustrate, my wife Renita did a FOIA request for all communications for anything containing her first or last name. The response was to return only those messages from my wife to the board or superintendent. However, it omitted a message from the superintendent to a citizen, a third party, which was copied to the full board. The message contained the following sentence: "I can speak for myself, Mrs. Bonadies has lied and shared false information multiple times," unquote. Yes, her name was spelled correctly. I mentioned this at the February board meeting. However, the April FOIA to both Kyle and later Mr. Bruton twice said we gave you everything. This was a test after you were trying to charge $14,000 on a FOIA request for several months of communication early in 2022. If you are seeing a few less FOIA requests, it's because we have no faith you would give us anything incriminating like defamation of character. And we did notice that you stopped labeling FOIA requests. They're now just letters on the agenda. I will return the remainder of my time to the Superintendent Defense System. Thank you.
Renita Bonadies. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. This is my 9th month to speak, so I'm not new to the board. 15th month to attend these meetings. I, along with many others, have tried to shed some light on a variety of topics, including bylaw abuses, Freedom of Information Act, Open Meeting Act, personal health choices, lack of transparency of this board and superintendent, and the agendas being pushed by you and your community business partners. It has been quite a journey as I dug into the education system that exists in this district and all the way up to the State Board of Education. I was very disappointed and disgusted to find how the education system I thought was teaching our kids about the basics to become healthy and knowledgeable graduates has instead become a system to destroy and abuse these children on many levels. I would say that the individuals on this board probably ran for these positions with the best of intentions and with the children in mind. It seems that something must change the focus of elected officials once they become part of the system. Whether it is the money and influence of the community business partners or the money that flows through the ways that it did during the pandemic, the outcome is not very encouraging. But I would like to thank all of you for your time in the recent transparency. The agenda to put one group of students and ideology above all other students has become quite clear. There is really only one group that has received excessive spending, their own coordinator and advocate, and plenty of resources across the board. School is to be for the betterment and education of all students, not just those that fit a certain narrative and agenda. When will the schools get back to teaching the basics? The amount of time, energy, and money I have heard about over these past months make it very clear that only a couple of groups matter most. The rest are to just stay in their lane, be quiet, and let you collect the education dollars because they attend MPS. It always seems to be about the money. It is for these reasons that I fully support the parents that are standing up to take the 3 positions on the school board, Mindy, Sarah, and Jimmy. It's time for the others to step aside. Finally, I have a scripture about the children, and I believe relevant to those who have taken an oath to protect the children. Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea, Matthew 18:5. And a reminder for all of us, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction, Proverbs 1:7. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last name is Amanchukwu.
Thank you very much for correcting me, Mr. Amanchukwu.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you.
It means I know God. Luke chapter 17:2 says that it's better for a person to have a millstone tied around their neck and to be thrown into the sea than for anyone to harm or damage a child. And so the question today to the school board is, only you know whether or not your role, the policies, the curriculum, and the things that you allow in this school system in Wake County, only you know whether or not a millstone is tied around your neck. The reality is this: God is going to judge every last one of you for decisions that are made on behalf of children. You know, this past year we spent $1 million on a diversity office. And how did that benefit Black children? How did it benefit children in general? Well, 78% of 3rd through 8th grade Black students are not proficient in math in Wake County. We're wasting taxpayer dollars putting money towards this diversity office that's not benefiting those who need it the most. 66% of 3rd through 8th grade students are not proficient in reading. Black students, they're not reading on grade level. They're not performing mathematically, and they're not going to be able to get jobs in the fields like STEM. But we're wasting money on a diversity, equity, and inclusion office while we are failing Black students in the name of diversity. You know, in the Jim Crow era, Black students were locked out of the public school system. But today they are trapped in. And many of these students need options. They need school choice. They need the opportunity to take their taxpayer dollars and take it to school systems that will benefit them and support them and educate them. And as we talk about inclusion and making sure that the trans student feels comfortable and the queer student feels comfortable, what does that have to do with reading, writing, and arithmetic? As we are teaching cultural Marxism and grooming children to be the next pervert, we are damaging our kids in this public school system, and it needs to stop.